Steve the Pitbull Sadow just laid down the law on Fani Willis. In fact, he announced on X that President Trump has filed a motion requesting the Georgia Court of Appeals to confirm its lack of jurisdiction in order to continue hearing his appeal now that he's president-elect and will soon become the 47th president of the United States, and then direct the trial court to immediately dismiss the case. The filing states that any ongoing criminal proceedings against a sitting president must be dismissed under the U.S. Constitution. The two federal criminal cases have already been dismissed by the DOJ. Translation, Fani's case is as good as toast, just like all the cases that they threw at the president-elect. You know what I mean? What did I tell you guys? It's never a good idea to bet against Donald J. Trump. But here's a clip, guys.
In a new court filing, his attorneys are asking the Georgia Court of Appeals to dismiss all those charges. Attorney Steve Sadow argues that a sitting president is completely immune from indictment or any criminal process. The motion relies on a standing Department of Justice policy that bans the prosecution of sitting presidents. That policy has not been tested, though, at the state level. The Fulton County Attorney's Office has declined our request for a comment here.
So what do you guys think? Is Fani dropping her election interference case against Trump going to be enough? Because my uncle said she should pay back all the taxpayer money that she wasted going after an innocent man. Everybody around me is saying that Fani Willis should be disbarred and Fani should be charged. Some say both. Her and soon-to-be ex-President Biden. Now, we've talked about Biden's pardon for his son Hunter. Well, President-elect Trump responded and said he's considering the same thing for January 6 prisoners. Check this out.
Today's announcement is a huge reversal from the president's previous statements, saying he would not use his executive power to pardon or commute Hunter's punishment. But the president released a new statement tonight alleging the case was politically motivated and called it a, quote, miscarriage of justice. Just a short time ago, President-elect Trump commented on social media suggesting that the January 6 rioters should be pardoned as well.
And did you guys hear about this one? Apparently, Biden's White House is even considering preemptive pardons for Joe's favorite people. Here's the lowdown from Jesse Waters.
Well, it looks like the Hunter Biden pardon was the final straw for Democrats when it comes to Joe Biden. Gone are the days of worshiping Dark Brandon as the ice cream cone-eating, aviator-wearing hero. A scathing new report from Axios talks about how Biden is now, quote, loathed by many Democrats who blame him for twin sins of selfishness, running again, then pardoning Hunter after repeatedly saying he wouldn't. Angry Democrats also threatening to kneecap one of the most sacred rites of passage for a former president. They're threatening to withhold donations from his future presidential library. Biden's legacy is toast. And I'm thinking the media no longer wants to see Joe Biden on Mount Rushmore. Watch this.
You have the leading Democrat in America and the leading Republican in America both agreeing on one thing. The Justice Department has been politicized. That is absolutely that is long-term damaging. This is no longer short-term damaging.
He kept saying things like, nobody's above the law. I respect, the jury's decision in regards to my son. He didn't believe that, but he didn't have to volunteer that lie to begin with.
It puts sort of wind in the Trump sails of saying, look, we're all alike, we're all politicians, we're all corrupt. And that's just not helpful.
But it's not just Hunter. St. Joe might be doling out pardons for Christmas for figures like Dr. Fauci, Liz Cheney, and Adam Schiff.
Now, seriously, guys, preemptive pardons for Fauci, Cheney, and Schiff, that we definitely need to talk about later in this video. But first, there's this bombshell motion filed by Trump's team asking the Georgia Court of Appeals to dismiss the RICO case led by Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis, which, by the way, is one of the last remaining cases against the former president as he returns back to the Oval Office. So basically, their argument is that his status as a sitting president, effective upon inauguration on January 20th, 2025, it renders him immune from any criminal prosecution under the U.S. Constitution, because otherwise Biden would have faced so many cases himself. But yeah, so Trump's defense attorney, Steve Sadow, he's really handling this like a boss, especially since he brought up the very real fact that the two federal criminal cases in which prosecutors were attempting to convict Trump of subverting the 2020 presidential election and improperly classifying documents have now been dismissed by the Justice Department in light of his election win. Bye-bye, Jack Smith. Not to mention Trump's legal team also cited concerns about local bias in the Georgia case. They said that states, i.e. Fani Willis, have no power to retard, impede, burden, or in any manner control the operations of the federal government. Trump's attorneys even referred to Fani in the filing, calling her a local prosecutor who not only answers to a tiny segment of the American electorate, but is acting in clear opposition of the will of the citizens of Georgia, as reflected by the recent election results. Now, if that isn't Fani to a T, I don't know what is. But yeah, bottom line, guys, two things. The motion calls on the Georgia Appellate Court to confirm its lack of jurisdiction over the case, arguing that any criminal proceedings against the sitting president must cease. And on top of that, they're also requesting that the trial court be directed to dismiss the indictment against Trump immediately. I mean, this case is just like the rest of them when you think about it. I mean, we're talking about Trump's alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 election results in Georgia. And now Trump is days away from his inauguration, and these cases have really been revealing of what they are. They're a broader pattern of political prosecution, or persecution, I should say, aka lawfare, from liberal elites trying to take away America's rights to vote for the president that we want. Don't forget, 76 million voters showed up for the president-elect Trump, and we wouldn't have had that chance if they got away with the lawsuits against this man. Seriously, it sends shivers down my spine just thinking about this. Like, what about you guys? Should they investigate the likes of Fani Willis and Joe Biden on day one of Trump's new administration? Drop a quick yes or no in the comments down below, guys. Hit the like button to show your support. And also, if you haven't yet, I highly recommend subscribing to the channel, tapping that notification bell. That way you guys can stay updated, and you'll also be helping us a lot in growing our community here on YouTube. 700,000 before Trump's inauguration day on January 20th. That's the goal, guys. Let's keep it going. All right, now this next one we really have to watch out for, because word on the street is Biden's White House, they're considering preemptive pardons for Dr. Anthony Fauci, Senate-elect Adam Schiff, and former Representative Liz Cheney. Yeah, just when you thought Democratic depravity couldn't get any lower, they do this. Now, apparently, White House counsel Ed Siskel, he's arranging discussions about the potential pardons with several other senior Biden aides, including Chief of Staff Jeff Zients. So yeah, it may not just be Hunter that the president's pardoning here. He may be giving out pardons this Christmas to all his best pals, you know what I mean? What a list. So Schiff and Cheney both led the January 6th Select Committee that investigated the U.S. Capitol riot. And of course, Anthony Fauci, the former director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, is also under scrutiny after the over 500-page final report came out about the government response to the COVID-19 pandemic. The report, which found that COVID-19 most likely emerged from a laboratory in Wuhan, China, supported how Fauci played a very critical role in disparaging the lab leak theory among top scientific circles in 2020 and later to the public. They also said that his congressional testimony to Senator Rand Paul in particular misled the public regarding National Institute of Health funding of gain-of-function research at coronavirus labs. And the worst of all of this is that Democratic officials, they're actually on board with these preemptive pardons from the president. Representative Brendan Boyle actually called on the president to issue blanket pardons when they announced Kash Patel as Donald Trump's FBI director. According to Boyle, Patel's nomination was Trump, making it clear that he was more focused on settling personal scores than on protecting the American people or upholding the rule of law. Senator Ed Markey, he also spoke in favor of preempting pardons last week, saying that preemptive pardons they're really what our country is going to be needing next year. Really, I thought it was lower inflation and a more secure border that Americans needed. I mean, that's why we overwhelmingly voted for President-elect Trump, right? Plus, even Schiff said that he would urge the president not to do that because it would seem defensive and unnecessary. But if Biden issues a pardon to these three, like he did with Hunter, he may as well admit to their wrongdoing, and goodness knows, people have enough dirt to criticize him and his administration on. You know what I mean? So let me say this though. Thanks to President Biden's outrageous move pardoning his son Hunter, President-elect Donald Trump is now hinting at mass pardons for the defendants tied to the January 6, 2021 Capitol riot. A little more than an hour after Biden made the announcement, Trump went on Truth Social asking, does the pardon given by Joe to Hunter include the January 6 hostages who have now been in prison for years? He then called it such an abuse and miscarriage of justice. And by the way, let's not forget, Trump actually floated pardons during his campaign for the more than 1,500 defendants either still facing facing trials or those already convicted for breaching the Capitol as Congress was voting to certify Biden's 2020 election win over Trump. Trump's transition team spoke up as well, saying that the failed witch hunts against President Trump have proven that the Democratic-controlled DOJ and other radical prosecutors are guilty of weaponizing the justice system. So, they said that the system of justice must be fixed and due process must be restored for all Americans, which is exactly what President Trump will do as he returns to the White House with an overwhelming mandate from the American people. Top of the list is probably going to be Fani Willis and her ridiculous election interference case against Trump. I mean, sure, Willis is going to fight to the death for this case, but then again, she could potentially be kicked off the case by a body who are investigating it or usurped by the state Supreme Court, who are likely to step in and close it. Man, I can't wait to see that. Another political opponent of Trump that they should definitely watch out for is for Vice President Kamala Harris. Now, apparently, there's been talk that the failed Democratic presidential candidate is telling her close confidants that she's staying in the fight and plans to mull over her political future with the family during the holidays. Apparently, they've been working on the down low on this. According to one of her former campaign aides, she doesn't have to decide if she wants to run for something again in the next 6 months. So for them, the natural thing would be to kind of set up some type of entity that would give her the opportunity to travel and give speeches and preserve her political relationships. They're talking about it in the betting markets too, though she is lagging behind other Dems such as former First Lady Michelle Obama, California Governor Gavin Newsom. Plus, there's the fact that she's going to be a presidential loser trying to vie again and make it into the White House. President-elect Donald Trump was able to do it, but come on, guys. Harris is no Trump. Former Harris aide Brian Brokaw explained that Harris is not someone who makes rash decisions. She takes sometimes a painfully long time to make decisions. So according to Brokaw, he would pretty much guarantee you that she has no idea what her next move is. Yep, definitely sounds like VP Harris to a T. So what do you guys think? Should we be watching out for the likes of Fani and Kamala Harris in the next few years? Or are they just going to fade away into irrelevancy pretty soon?
Immigrants are the lifeblood of New York City. Our mayor, Eric Adams, he said we can't handle anymore in here. You represent one of the most diverse districts in Congress. What can be done at the federal level to help?
Well, here's the thing, is that I think whether from all parts of the political spectrum, one of the biggest issues that we have when it comes to immigration is the fact that we have an undocumented population. Now, you can fix that by trying to build a wall, or you can fix that by trying to document people and create a path to citizenship.
That's a brilliant solution, right? Americans are concerned about illegal immigrants. If the government grants them citizenship, then the problem's solved, right? Wrong. Which means that AOC has no problem in giving thousands of criminals the right to be in this country. Granted, this interview came out last year, but we all know that AOC's values remain the same. And as you saw, AOC is not very fond of New York City Mayor Eric Adams for obvious reasons. Now, Adams seems to be willing to work with the Trump administration, and he also seems pretty eager to talk to border czar Tom Homan.
Those who are here committing crimes, robberies, shooting at police officers, raping innocent people, have been a harm to our country. I want to sit down and hear the plan on how we're going to address them. Those are the people I am talking about, and I would love to sit down with the border czar and hear his thoughts on how we're going to address those who are harming our citizens.
So Adams is taking a different approach compared to other mayors and governors of blue states and sanctuary cities. And as you guys may know, some Democrats are also willing to go to jail for these illegal immigrants. However, there are other Democrats who share the same sentiment as the majority of this country, one of which is the New York City Councilman Robert Holden, an official who actually supports Tom Homan in his goal of cleaning up the country.
Why do you support Holman as the border czar?
Well, again, all you have to do is pay attention to what's happening in the United States. Why would we want to keep people who are here illegally and have committed a crime? Why do we want to keep them?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't get that. I never did. It's not even remotely plausible to think like that. Any mayor that does that or any governor, I agree with Tom. They should be arrested.
Yeah, absolutely. You ask such great questions, and the answers from some are just wild. And as a councilman of New York City, a massive sanctuary city, what have you seen here that makes you say we need change?
Well, we've seen a number of gangs in New York City from all different countries, and it's not only Venezuela, but we've seen a number of gangs, and they're committing crimes, and they attack cops. They're, very arrogant, and, they'll do it right in the open. They don't fear deportation because it's a sanctuary city.
And that in and of itself is a threat to New Yorkers and any U.S. citizen who lives in a sanctuary city, which shows that common sense within the left really isn't very common, because there aren't many officials like Councilman Holden who think this way. And here's his solution: repeal sanctuary policies that shield illegal immigrants and put members of society at risk. But according to Holden, the Democratic Party is just blind to these problems.
I'm wondering if your party gets it nationally. They got their butts handed to them in this past election cycle. Do they not understand that the American people across the board simply do not want to be supporting these tens of millions of illegals?
No, they don't understand. And they think money grows on trees also, my colleagues, because they, when the Mayor Adams announced, hey, we can't keep footing the bills and keeping migrants in these hotels for a long period of time. So he kind of put a 60-day cap on their stays, and then started to take away some of their Visa cards and benefits and food. And they're screaming bloody murder now in the council, New York City Council, the Democrats are. Again, I don't see eye to eye with them. I'm sort of on the outskirts along with a couple of other colleagues, but it's common sense, Todd, that we can't keep footing the bill. We can't keep asking taxpayers to pay for this. And by the way, do we really need 58,000 migrants who are convicted felons or have pending criminal charges against them? That's how many we have.
Again, common sense. They entered the country illegally. Some of them are criminals. Wouldn't it just make sense to have their home country take care of them? It's confusing to think that some of these Democrats are fighting so hard for illegal immigrants when they can't do the same for our veterans. They can't do the same for any of us who might be struggling. What's worse is that they're using our taxpayer money to fund these activities, money that should have helped our communities and our cities. Instead, they're burning through our cash just to house illegal aliens.
We are now getting a fresh new glimpse at the massive amount of cash sanctuary cities have soaked up on people who are not American citizens. Both Denver and New York City are spending hundreds of millions of U.S. taxpayer dollars. So the citizens are paying all that money for people who are not citizens. And you won't believe where some of the money is going. New York City effectively paid $220 million to Pakistan in order to rent the Roosevelt Hotel as a full-time shelter for people who were not citizens, who many of them came across our border illegally, but they're here.
I want you to all go back and Google Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama. Google what they said about those who commit crimes in our city and what they said in our country. They said those who commit crimes need to get out right away. That was their position. So this is not a new position, because in the state in the era of cancel culture, no one's afraid to be honest about the truth. Well, cancel me, because I'm going to protect the people of the city. And if you come into this country, in this city, and think you're going to harm innocent New Yorkers and innocent migrants and asylum seekers, this is not the mayor you want to be in the city under.
We begin tonight with the closure of multiple migrant shelters and more that could be shutting down soon. While the number of migrants arriving in the city has dropped, political reporter Marsha Kramer reports the city still needs to address the needs of these families.
Fearing the Trump administration will cancel the federal lease for the 10 complex at Floyd Bennett Field that houses 1,800 asylum seekers, the Adams administration is looking for alternate sites for the families who live there as officials move to close other emergency facilities.
Mayor Eric Adams seems to finally understand just how big of a problem illegal immigration is in our country. And we're not talking about just like sheer numbers alone. A recently released report shows that New York City is home to almost 60,000 illegal illegal immigrants convicted or facing criminal charges. That's pretty freaking significant. A number that was criticized by Republican Representative Nicole Malatakis. Now, according to her, it's shocking that Democrats have gone out of their way to harbor gang members, drug traffickers, and other criminals who entered our country illegally. Individuals that have been provided food, housing, and health care via taxpayer money. And while that in and of itself is crazy enough, it's not as insane as what Democratic Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has suggested before. And guys, I just want to thank y'all so much for being here. Thanks for hitting the like button and subscribing. Let's get going. Let me know your thoughts on this, guys, in the comments. And while you're at it, don't forget to go ahead and subscribe to the channel as well, right? Now, we've got other videos for you guys to check out as well. I just uploaded a video talking about how Biden's pardon of Hunter just revealed his own corruption. Definitely a must watch for you guys. Check out this video that's coming up here next or our playlist section down below. Appreciate you guys being here. We'll see you guys next time.